Hey everyone, it's Dev from the Maniology team with our weekly live every Tuesday at 1:30 Hawaii Standard Time. You can find us here on another nail stamping journey. Whether it's a tutorial, technique, or hack, we're here to discuss the details and we're so happy you could join. So hey everyone, welcome. Looks like we have someone from Puerto Rico. I'm so happy we've got some international people here. Okay, so the moment that everyone's been waiting for. It's always a big topic. Stone designs are forever a classic. I feel like this plate is one of our top 5 bestsellers. I want to say it's like in top 3 bestsellers of all time. I very lovingly and painstakingly worked on this plate with one of our designers. I knew she hated me during that project because it was such a difficult task to create this, but together we produced something amazing and I'm so happy I can share it with you guys today. So if you aren't familiar with this plate, this is called our Heart of Stone plate. It's BMXL 476. And this has a whole bunch of different stone designs that you can take a look at. Here we go. So this plate has malachite designs, agate designs, designs that can be used for turquoise, designs that can be used for marble. We even have like this design was supposed to be used for labradorite, and then we also have this design here, which is like it's called a dendrite. A lot of crystals can get dendrites, and they kind of look like this. It looks like almost like a tree or a fern growing in a plant, but it's not. So usually when you see this, they'll call it like dendritic crystal or dendritic opal. But dendrites can, I believe, grow in multiple crystals. So yeah, there's so many different fun things that you can create with this. So before we get into it, let me show you the designs that we're going to be working on today. We're going to be doing a classic white and gray marble, the classic turquoise look, rose quartz, and also this is malachite. Sharon is asking, is there a list of stones for every single plate? No, there isn't, because a lot of these can overlap with other stones. So that's part of the reason why we didn't like write out a list, or why I didn't write out a list. A lot of these things can be used for many different effects. So for example, when I created this design, it was after Koyomito turquoise, or wait, no. Wait, that's actually wrong. I want to say it was after an agate design that I had painted. But these designs can, and this design, all 3 of these designs can be used for agate or also malachite, because I've seen malachite with all 3 of these types of line works. So again, a lot of these designs can go multiple ways. This can be used for turquoise. It can also be used for marble. There's so many different ways that it can be used. So that's part of the reason why there are no like exact names for what each stone is, because again, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do, however you want to use them, you can. I think someone on our Instagram used one of these designs to make jade, which also looked very beautiful. I've seen people use this to make amethyst. I mean, honestly, you can literally use it for whatever you want. So let's get into it. I am not going to give you the list of colors that you guys need up front because it's going to be a lot. So the way that I'm going to do it instead is I'm going to show you the colors for each design when we do the design. So in case you're like, hey, what colors do you use? You'll find out as soon as I work on that design. It seems like we're having some issues with sound. Can you guys hear me clearly? If so, please give me some hearts. Oh, Kat says she likes my crystal tattoo. So we'll talk about all of this soon enough, but the the Stoney Queen. I don't know how to say it any other way. I absolutely love crystals. And I always have since I was a child. I think my mom told me one of the first things I ever grabbed was my grandmother's emerald ring. So I've always been very, very into crystals. Hold on. Okay. Sound is working, image is working, yay! Thank you everyone for giving me hearts to let me know what's going on. Okay, so now that we got all of that covered, let's jump right into it. So today, for our very first tip, we are going to use a sheer white and a sheer pink. You're gonna notice I'm not gonna say color names or numbers for the sheer white and sheer pink. FYI, stay tuned. Make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. I'm not going to say any more. Don't ask me any more questions. You can use whatever sheer pink or sheer white you want. You can also make a sheer pink and a sheer white using just like white and clear polish. So, hint, hint. There are some unreleased things we're going to be seeing today. So you're going to take a sheer white polish, and you're just going to kind of do like this random design. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to look like super clean. And as you can see, I didn't put it all over the nail. And then you are going to take your, whoops. Oh. You're going to take a sheer pink. So, because I am wanting to do this quicker for you guys so you don't have to wait forever for things to dry, I put my tip that has the sheer white on the side because I wanted this next step to be make sure that the white is dry, and I didn't want you guys to have to wait for the white to dry. So then you're going to take a sheer pink, and you're just going to kind of fill those areas that are empty on the nail. Then you can also overlap on your sheer white. So part of the reason, oops, that was kind of a lot. Part of the reason I wanted to do this when the white was done drying, because I didn't want it to get all over in my pink polish. So we're going to set that aside and let that dry because it's going to take a minute. Again, it's not a difficult technique, but you know, drying does need to happen. So you're just going to put that on the side for now. And while that's happening, we're actually going to move over to the next design. Because again, we always want to keep things going during the live. I don't want you guys to have to like wait forever for everything to dry. It sucks. Ooh, we have someone from Tennessee. Hello, welcome. So the next design we're going to create is malachite. And we're going to work on this while our pink quartz or pink rose quartz base is drying. I believe I'm using the mini, I want to say, not the Go. For the person who's asking me about, oh yeah, it is, Lotus Mini. For the person who is asking me about which mat I'm using. So, okay, to create the malachite base, you are going to want to paint your nails with whatever dark green you want. I'm using the color malachite, but I believe there's a green that is very, very similar called evergreen or pine. We have kind of a similar green, so I think this green got discontinued, but this is what I had on me, so this is what I'm using. Again, you can just use any emerald green you want. And then you're going to also use the color Russell. And this is almost like a greenish blue, I want to say. It's kind of funny because when you look at it and you put it next to blues, it pulls much more of a blue than it does a green. However, for our malachite design, this Russell color is gorgeous for malachite. So you're going to need that, and then you're also going to need straight up black. A detail brush, so I'm going to be using my detail brush, and your scraper and stamper. So paint your base emerald green, set that aside. Now we are going to do some reverse stamping. Let's get straight into it. I have a little piece of paper that I was working on earlier, so I'm just going to use that so that way I get all the polish on there instead of my workstation. And then you're going to grab your light green color, which is Russell, apply it to this design, or you could even use this design or this design if you want, but today I'm going to be using the same one that I used in my example nail tip. Okay, there we go. Pick up your design like that. Then move all of this aside so that way we have a nice clean workspace. Then you're going to bring that paper back actually, and we're going to use this as an area to mix our colors and also to use as like an area so that way we can reverse stamp with. I don't want to do it on my mat. If you want to do it on your mat, that's completely fine. I just personally don't want to because it takes too many cottons to clean it up. So the ratio for this is going to be one large amount of green, like a huge green spot. I'm actually going to add more since I'm probably going to be moving a little bit slower so I can explain. And then you're going to add like a small dot of black. That's about it. So if you need to understand what the ratio is, you do not need much of the black color. It is very, very strong. Then you're going to go ahead and take these two polishes and just mix them up together. Oh, well, I guess I need more black than that because it looks like the exact same color. So, happy little accidents. Easy to fix though. So if you're gonna do this, just kind of do it slowly. You don't want to overdo it with the black. It can be really, really strong. Now you can kind of see the colors change. Wow, we have someone from Switzerland. Hi Bianca, thanks for joining us. Okay, so now let's take a look at the color we created. So it's a really dark green in comparison to our previous green that we were using. Isn't that awesome? So we wanted a nice dark green so that way we have some contrast against our light green base. And now you're just going to randomly fill in whatever lines you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and start filling in any random sections. The cool thing about this is that you don't have to color the whole design. And if you load your brush up with enough polish, you can quickly move. So usually we tell you it's a tapping motion. It is a tapping motion most times, but again, if you move fast enough and you have enough polish on your brush and your polish consistency is not sticky or tacky. You can drag, you just have to be really, really careful. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with that, that's fine. You can use the tapping motion, but to make things a little quicker today, so that way everyone isn't waiting forever for this to be colored in, I thought I'd just kind of speed it up. So again, I am not coloring every single line. You'll be able to see that I'm actually going to be leaving a lot of empty negative space because we are going to be filling those empty negative spaces with our green base. So when we stamp this on the nail, the green base will show through. The cool thing about polishes too is that if you don't have the right color, sometimes you can make it, especially if you only need a small amount. Like today, we don't need to have a whole bottle of this color. We just needed a little bit. Unless this is a color that's like your favorite or something, then of course you'd want to have maybe a bottle just filled with this color. If I'm not answering your questions right now, I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just the fact that I am using all my eyes and concentration that I have to color in these very, very fine details. So thank you so much for your patience if I'm getting really quiet. Also, while I'm doing this, I will tell you a story. A long time ago, well, not that long, maybe like 4 years ago, the crystal tattoo that you see on me was a flash tattoo. It was like, you know, Friday the 13th kind of thing, and they were offering like a flash tattoo special. And my old coworker, who's no longer with us, she had a friend who's a tattoo artist that was having, I guess, part of this like Flash Friday special. She was going in for tattoo work. She had told us about the deal, so I had never gotten a tattoo before, but I'd always wanted one. And one of the designs that was on the flash sheet was this crystal. And I have a very, very long history with particularly crystals, which I can tell you more about later. And so I decided to go get a tattoo on my lunch break with my manager, Tiana, and her and I have matching crystal tattoos. But hers, I believe, is like on her wrist, and mine's is on my finger. I wanted it in a place that I could like easily conceal and hide. So that's why I put it on my finger. And this is going to take a few minutes to dry, but let me show you what it looks like when we stamp it over. You're going to have both those dark and light parts on our design. So let's put this aside and let that dry. Now we're going to go back to our original design, which is right here. And I think we can start working on it. Tiana says it's on her right wrist. So let's take a look at this nail. You can see it has kind of like that, I think we need a better, there we go. You can see it has some of that sheerness. It looks kind of pink, and it has a little bit of that like white effect. So it looks really, really pretty. The light green color we were using before is called Russell. So this is going to be our base for our rose quartz. So now you're going to take a white stamping polish, and today I'm going to be using Bam White. Yes, technically Crystal Sisters. And also, I actually changed my mind. I don't want to just use Bam White because I think that might be a little bit harsh. I might try and use Luna as well. So I'm going to use Luna and Bam White to create veining for my rose quartz. Also, for the person who is asking about my green polish colors, the third green was mixing emerald and black. So for quartz design, we are going to be using, I think I actually want to use this part. So again, this could be used for turquoise, but it could be used for whatever I want as well. That is how these plates were designed, for you to get creative and use it however you want. So where is my white and my Luna? I'm going to put down a little bit of Luna first, just randomly, like that. I just did a few splotches of it, and then I'm going to do a little bit of white. Then grab your scraper and just go ahead and do that. Oh, hello. I didn't even have a stamper ready. Ha! Well, we still managed to pick it up. I love when that happens, when you're like, oops, I wasn't ready. I didn't have it ready, but it still picks up, because that frequently happens to me. I'm gonna clean away some of this excess. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp part of the nail like that. I'm not doing the whole thing because I don't want to have so much veining. If I had just stamped the whole thing on, it would have given me a little too much veining, and that's not the look that I want. So again, you can kind of pick and choose and also place things the way that you want them. So here is the fun part. We're not going to leave the veins just like that, because if you look at it and you ever look at rose quartz, it doesn't really have strong veining like this. It's a lot more diffused. So let's go ahead and make those lines a little bit softer. To do that, you're going to need acetone and a brush. So I'm using kind of a junky looking brush. Then you're just going to go ahead and dip your brush in acetone, and then dip it like this to take away the excess. It shouldn't be like soaking wet. That's not the effect that we want. And then you're just going to go ahead and run it over some of those vein areas. And this is how we diffuse the design. So again, you're not going to be using a lot of acetone, so it shouldn't completely melt the polish underneath, but you are going to need to use a little bit in order to kind of get this effect. Then I need to clean my brush again. Make sure you clean it every once in a while, and then dab off the excess. And you can just also tap over it, so that way you don't have to like drag everything. We're just gently tapping away. And this is one of the hugest secrets on how to get the perfect kind of stone look. And there we go. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and apply more of that sheer pink tint. Actually, no. I'm going to first apply some of the sheer white, and then we're going to go ahead and apply the sheer pink after. When you do the sheer white this time, you're not going to need that much on the brush, so I'm just using very little. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go over some areas. You don't have to do the whole nail. You can just pick and choose spots that you want to focus on. And then you just kind of dry brush it. And it's okay if the lines get a little smudgy, a little smeared. It's perfectly fine for this look. I think it actually really helps to add to the design. If you don't have this plate, then you need to hop on it, because honestly, this plate consistently sells out. And it takes a while to restock. So if you don't have BMXL 476, you should definitely check it out, because it is an awesome plate. Now I'm going to go in with my sheer pink and just kind of layer a little bit more on there. This one I was a bit more heavy-handed, so you can just kind of add the pink wherever you want. And I think that looks pretty good. The true magic happens when you take away the tip stand, and then you can actually see through the nail. It looks so cute, because right now the tip stand has like a white putty, so that way the tip can stand on it. So once we take away the white putty, you'll be able to see more of those fun details. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the side so that way it can dry properly while we go back to our reverse stamping malachite design. So where is my malachite? Okay, it's right here. I think this is dry. We can touch it. It's good. We like that. Now we're going to use some sticky base coat to adhere it to our green base. So make sure the coat is not too thick. Kat said she told her husband she's making an order for another Maniology plate. That's awesome. I'm so happy y'all talk to your partners about your purchases. Things just show up at my door. My husband's like, I think this is for you. Did you order another package of something? And I'm like, yes, maybe. So he always finds surprises at our door that have nothing to do with him and are all for me. So now that that is drying, you're going to need about 30 seconds to a minute, I want to say, for this to dry properly. And you'll know because when you touch it, it'll feel slightly tacky, but it won't feel like so wet that you see a textured fingerprint. But because it is a sticky base, when I touch it, you will see my fingerprint, but it's not going to be textured. So I don't know if you guys understand what I mean by that, but when you push into polish and it's still wet, you'll literally see like ripples and bumps because the polish is obviously still wet. When you've ever touched like a piece of tape or something like that, when you touch it, you leave a fingerprint on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's like a texture or bumpiness to it. So that's what we're looking for with this tip, is we want to see a fingerprint, but we don't want to see texture and bumpiness. And that usually takes about 30 seconds to a minute or longer if you're like in AC. Okay, this is perfect. So we can see my fingerprint, but it's not so tacky. Ooh, whoops, that it's wet. Voila. Just have to wipe away a little bit of that excess. But here we have it. So if you see a little bit of wrinkles or bumps, don't worry about it. You can always push that down with the stamper. When you cover it with top coat, you're not going to see any of that. It's going to be smooth and gorgeous. So let's top it off with, ooh, I'm going to try it. I'm going to float the smudge, the speed dry top coat just because I want to have that really pretty glossy effect. So everyone wish me luck. Do not ever do this. I don't recommend doing this, especially if you spent time. I'm going to do something naughty, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So I have a huge bead on here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Whoops. When you float, you have to have like the world's largest bead of polish on. Because should your brush actually touch the design, it's over. Ruined. Hours of reverse stamping, ruined. And I've done this many times. So usually I always apply the speed or the smudge free first before I do the speed dry, especially if I spent a lot of time reverse stamping. But today I felt risky. Felt like taking risks. So that is our malachite design. You can see all the different shades of green. It looks really, really cute. And now we are going to work on our marble design. So we're going to let that dry for a bit. And then you are going to use whatever station you want, your lotus mat, your leftover paper. That is part of the reason what I want to use the leftover paper is so that way I don't have to get my mat dirty. Then you're going to need Luna, Bam White, and Storm Cloud, Folklore, and oh, straight up black. Let's start with the base. So today I painted Luna on just like one coat, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I just like to do that to make sure that there's no gaps in my designs. And then you're gonna take some Luna polish and randomly do this kind of thing. Then you're gonna take your white polish and randomly do something like that. You can use a brush or you can use a tool. I think I'm going to use a tool to kind of mix this up a little bit. Do something funky like that. Doesn't have to be cute or perfect or pretty. Then you're just going to take your stamper and kind of smudge it. So you can see here where there are parts of more parts of Luna and there are more parts of like the white here. I actually want to pick the area that has a bit more of like the Luna polish because I think it looks really cute that way. Someone's asking, oh, whoops. Someone mentioned something about diffusing their lines with acetone and it ruining their base. That means you're using too much acetone if it's ruining your base or you're pressing too hard with your brush. So you're gonna need to, I'll show you in a second. We're gonna go over how to diffuse with veins again in this design. So now that this is kind of dried a little bit, we don't ever want to stamp it on when it's like super wet. It makes it very difficult to work with. We're just going to go ahead and do something like that. Whoops. Well, that's kind of a weird shape. That was not what I intended. All right, well, the good thing is if that happens, we just fix it, stamp more on. I wanted the base to look more marbled, and it super did not come out that way. That's all right, because if it doesn't look the way you want it, you can just keep stamping this base until you kind of get it into an area you want. I think that's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's what all of the veining that we're going to do on top of the design helps with. So for this part, you are going to want to select this design here. And for those of you who are asking how do you do the veining without accidentally taking away too much from your base, we're going to get into it right now. So let me make sure my stamper is clean. I have multiple stampers that I'm working with today because it's just easier to have so many than to be limited to only one right now, especially because I keep changing the techniques. For marble, I would prefer to use this type of veining because I think it matches much better with like a white marble effect. And you're going to take, let's see, gray and black. We're going to use 2 grays and a black. And part of the reason we're doing that is because when you are doing these types of designs, the veining is never usually just one color. It's very rarely is it just one color. It's usually a mix of different colors. So I'm gonna just go ahead and randomly apply the gray all over. I want there to be more grays than there are black. The black is very, very minor. So even now you can kind of see I have very, very lightly smeared that in. Let me show you up close what it looks like. And then we're gonna go ahead and just scrape it all in different directions. Use your stamper to pick it up. So now we're gonna go ahead and stamp the design on. I don't know if I want all of this veining. There we go. Okay, if I leave it like this, it is super unrealistic. Most times, marble does not look like that. So we are going to go ahead and diffuse again using any kind of junk brush that you have. I've personally noticed that this technique works better if you use a wider brush. Don't use a brush like this to diffuse your veins. It's too difficult, and this will dig into the polish because you're going to need to apply more pressure to try to like get it to properly smooth itself out. So let me just kind of make sure that my brush is clean. You don't want to drag a dirty brush in white, light colored bases. And then when you are dragging, gently tap away the excess acetone before you drag. Like that. So it's just the slightest kind of motion and touch. I'm not doing very much of it. And go ahead and just kind of tap away any stuff you want to soften. And you can't see it, but off screen, I'm just basically dipping the bristles of my brush in acetone, and then I have a cotton pad that I kind of dab a little bit of the acetone off on. So I'm being very, very, very gentle. I'm not applying much pressure at all. Your brush should not be soaking wet. It should not be dripping when you're doing this technique. For example, here you can see that my bristles are wet, but they're not like glistening because I don't have that much acetone on it. And we're actually working on creating a product that might help make reverse stamping a lot easier in the future. So keep your eyes open for that. Again, sign up for our newsletter because honestly, that's how you're gonna find out the most information the quickest is through our newsletter. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let me see. Do I need to adjust any other areas? I think I want to actually soften this area here. The other trick people can do if you're not feeling super confident about doing this and you're worried about ruining your base, you could also apply a smudge free over your base, let that dry, and then go ahead and do, you know, diffuse your lines and stamp the veining and stuff like that. That's another option. I didn't want to do that because that's just another step, and then you're gonna have to wait again longer for things to dry, and I don't want you to have to wait forever. So I'm gonna go with a sheer white and actually paint it over some of the areas that we diffused. If you don't want to do that, that's completely fine. But I think I really like the way that looks. You can see it makes it look just like softer. Honestly, this sheer white is so useful for so many things. I can't even wait till you guys are able to have it. Tiana and I were talking about how useful this product is and how long we've needed it and didn't even realize how bad we needed it. But you can create like all the different types of crystal designs with this. You can create beautiful ombres with it. I mean, there's like, again, numerous things you can create with this. So that is our marble look. We're gonna wait for that to dry before we top coat it because we just applied a bunch of white polish and it is a lot right now. So I'm gonna show you the other design that we worked on. There is our rose quartz, malachite, and white marble. Now we're gonna do our blue turquoise design. So let me move this aside and reset the station because again, when you're working, it's best to reset your station. I am someone who routinely ends up only stamping around like this much space and it makes my life difficult. So don't be like me. Use your full station and reset every single time. It helps. I'm gonna clean this design because this is what I want to use next. Okay, so before we get started, you need to use Sunny Day, which is a sheer tint yellow. You're going to be using Frosty as our base. And then you need to use Anato Clay and Straight Up Black. So for this, we're going to be using 4 different colors. I already painted my base with Frosty. It is dry to the touch, and that is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this Sunny Day Yellow, which is a sheer tint, and put it down on a little area so that way I can pick some up. If you have a sponge, you can do it with a sponge. I had these little eyeshadow applicators because I have so many different powders. So I'm just going to use one of these because I thought this would be kind of a fun way to use up all my eyeshadow applicators. And I'm just going to go ahead and sponge it on randomly in some areas like this. So you don't have to do the whole nail, but you should do a little bit. Part of the reason we're doing that is because whenever you look at turquoise, it's never, again, no stone is ever like a flat color. It's very, very rare. There are some stones that are, I think obsidian might be like that because it's just black, but most stones have multiple colors in it. Turquoise has hundreds of different types of turquoise. There are so many different types, and a lot of them are very mixed with colors. So like this, the yellow works very, very well on the turquoise because it's kind of like a, gives it like a little bit more of a vintage vibe. Yes, Sharon, yellow works well for giving turquoise depth, and I figured that out a while back, a couple of years ago, when I had to like start doing more like hand painted turquoise designs, and I was like, oh yeah, we need yellow. You need yellow or sheer brown or some kind of like sheer to kind of make it look a little bit more vintage. Then you're going to take your brown and black polishes, and I think I want to use this area of the plate with more veining. Now you're going to add a bunch of brown all over. And we primarily want to see more brown veining than we do black. And then I'm going to fill the gaps with a bunch of black polish. Even though it looks like a lot of black right now, it might just be a lot of black. We won't know yet. Maybe I'll just go ahead and add just a little bit more. Then go ahead and like do multiple scrapes. Oh gosh, me with forgetting to clean my stamper, the big stamper, so that way. Voila. So, no, I'm not feeling it. I think I would rather use a different area and maybe also not as much black. Okay, so maybe what I should do this time is put the black down and then the brown. So that way brown is the predominant color that's on top. Like that. Then now grab your stamper. Better. This is what we wanted. Another way, okay, is you can pull So be careful when you do this with your stamper, because pulling can cause things to rip or tear. So you might want to do this with like a stamper that is not as loved. But that's a really cool technique you can do when you're working on stone designs, is pull the veins, so that way a lot of the veins are like, or the holes are like bigger. So I kind of did it a little bit here, but you can do it more if you want to. Again, you can go in and diffuse if you want. I think I'm gonna. Just a little bit like that. Let's do this area. We're gonna just. So I'm gonna just kind of diffuse some of the corners a little bit. So there's quite a bit you can do with this plate. I'm even like removing some parts. I don't know if you guys can see that, but technically I'm taking away some of the parts that I didn't like while softening other parts up. So I hope you guys are learning a lot. I can't really see the comments because I'm so focused on doing the nail art and making sure I'm in camera that I'm not able to see everything that everyone's typing. But I hope you guys are getting all this information, because I know it's a lot. Whenever I do lives with you guys, I like tell you everything in the lives. I'm telling you all the secrets, all my techniques. And it's a lot of information. So I'm happy that you guys are just kind of riding it out with me, checking it out, seeing what I have to say. Hopefully you're able to pick up a lot of information. But I have always been obsessed with crystal designs. That's actually my specialty. So I've done a lot of hand painting, like hand painted crystal art. And that was part of the reason why I was able to actually make a plate that looks like crystal designs, because there are other plates out there that have some crystal designs on it, but I noticed at the time that a lot of those plates that had the crystal designs on them, they didn't really look like crystals to me. So I was looking for something that was more like a realistic stone design, and I was like, well, if I can't find it on the market, why don't we just make it? And that's exactly what happened. And we created our crystal design plate. So this is our marble. I know, I'm so obsessed with crystals. When I was a little kid, my friends and I used to like go looking in our yards or neighborhoods for quartz, because quartz pretty much grows like everywhere. And back then there was just like a lot more, I don't know how to explain this. Like in my neighborhood, we had a lot of white stone, and even before in my yard, we had like a white rock, a bunch of white rocks in our yard. We didn't have like dirt. So we had like all these white rocks, but I'd noticed that sometimes you'd pick up some of the white rocks and there'd be like little quartz formations on it. And I was obsessed because I was like 5 and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. My next door neighbor, who was also my best friend at the time, she had all these like gray, like, you know, gray stones that were like probably this color gray. And you would very easily be able to see the white quartz formation on those like small stones. And I mean, the formations are like this tiny, like it's so just tiny little speckles. But my friend and I were so obsessed with crystals that we ended up raiding our dad's tools. And I found my dad's hammer, and I would literally carry it around with me, and I would try to like smash those stones to isolate the quartz, which was probably not the best idea because I was like 5 years old with like a grown adult hammer, and like some of my other dad's tools to try to like get out all the little quartz that we found. Super naughty. But my dad would always be like, "Where's my hammer?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." So yeah, let's do top coat over these because I think this looks pretty good, everyone. What do you guys think? Give me some hearts if you like our outcome and if you learned something in this live. So I'm just going in with speed dry. If you don't want to ruin your work, I recommend you use the smudge free first. I'm feeling very risky today, so I'm just gonna be using the speed dry right over, but mainly because I want to show you guys what it looks like when it's all glossy and pretty. It looks so much like a stone. Oh, I have a lot of hearts. Yay! Everyone's loving these designs, and it sounds like a lot of you learned quite a bit in this live, and I'm so happy. Barbara says she thinks the stone technique is beautiful. So Jacqueline, the sheer pink is not available on the site right now. We do have a sheer pink in our Rainbow Splash collection called Vermilion. You actually can create the same effect using vermilion, but today I kind of showed you guys 2 polishes that have not been released yet, so make sure that you have signed up for our newsletter because honestly, when those polishes drop, you need to have it. It's a must-have. The sheer pink and the sheer white are a must-have. I cannot believe that it took us this long to create it because honestly, in my personal life, I use sheer white and sheer pink like gels all the time, so now we had to make a polish form. So this is the final product, and I'm so happy everyone stayed on with me. You guys were awesome and so patient. Thank you for listening to all of my stories, and we've got all kinds of city sounds today. Yeah. Oh, is there any chance of them showing up in a subscription box? No, these are not going to be in a subscription box. I will tell you that much. They're not going to be in a subscription box, so everyone will be able to get them. And, oh, let me show you in comparison what the other designs were. So this is my sample, and this is what we made. I think it looks pretty darn good and very realistic to the actual stone designs. So make sure that you grab this Heart of Stone plate. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it so much. I didn't even get to like when you use gold foils with this. It's like amazing. I used a gold foil with this and white and black, and chef's kiss, perfection. It was amazing. There's so many cool things you can do with this, and I'm sure you all will be able to make amazing manicures that are unique and fun. So check it out when you have time, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again for joining us, and if I didn't answer your questions, please forgive me. I will be going back into the comment section later and taking a look to see, but I feel like I had my A-team out. Tiana was helping today, and the rest of you were here also assisting all the newcomers, so thank you so much. I hope everyone has an amazing week. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!